I'm Wolf, and this is Arcanaignition. The moon is a waxing crescent tonight, and I'm going to read some tarot. The question I'm answering this evening is from somebody going by the name of Sexy Brick, and Sexy Brick wants to know, how can I find the balance between self-care and work in a world with so much work to be done? What is right action? I resonate so deeply with this question. There is so much work to be done in the world, and I think a lot of us are regularly overwhelmed by how much there is to be done. And my preference is to do work in the world which also causes myself to feel and be better and revived, and to do work on myself that improves the world. And then you ask, what is right action? And that's kind of like the question, right? Like, what do I do? How do I know that what I'm doing is good, is good for the world, is making the world better? So I would love to help you find some balance between self-care and work in the world, and I hope I can help you know a little bit more about what is right action, because the thing that I do feel confident saying about self-care, work in the world, and right action is that it is extremely personal. And whatever my work is and my right action is going to be super different than a lot of other people's version of right action and work in the world. And the world needs a lot of different kinds of work. So let's see what the Golden Art Nouveau tarot deck has to say about your specific work in the world. The first card that I'm pulling for you Five of Pentacles. And the Five of Pentacles is about poverty, material poverty. It's about not having. It's about knowing that others have and knowing that you don't. And there's injury, and there's cold, and there is strength, and there is power, and there is a forging of steel, a creation of resilience in this card. The next card I'm pulling for you the Knight of Pentacles. And the Knight of Pentacles is about staying put and doing your work where you are and plowing your own field and being intrepid and action-oriented, but in a way that's located right where you are, in a way where you don't have to go somewhere else to do it, and in a way that's grounded. The last card that I'm pulling for you is the Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups is boundless compassion. She's bountiful. She's luxurious, she's loving, she's kind. It is easy for her to be loving, kind, and luxurious all at the same time. So now I'm going to look at all three of these cards together and attempt to bring them together to help you find balance between self-care and work in the world and know what is right action. So the Knight and the Queen are court cards, and court cards indicate people. Sometimes this is aspects of yourself, and sometimes these are actual other people. And frequently they are aspects of yourself as you see them reflected in other people. So these two ways of being, one of which is endlessly and continuously kind and emotionally generous, and the other of which is hardworking and centered and balanced, seem to describe self-care and work in the world. And they seem to describe self-care and work in the world in ways that support each other. So the Knight of Pentacles, he's working the world, but because he's doing it right in his backyard and in a way that is connected and grounded, that work functions as self-care. And the Queen of Cups is self-care, but her self-care is so flowing, and her self-care is so authentic and thorough that the very act of it causes the world to be better. So this dichotomy, and the two of them facing each other, but not quite seeing each other, they're kind of looking past each other, tells me that you, in creating this dichotomy and creating this polarity between self-care and work in the world, you are reinforcing that polarity. By telling yourself that those are two different things, you are causing them to continue to be two different things. And duality is a pretty basic part of our current civilizational story, good and bad. Even your next question, what is right action? That implies that there's wrong action. And it's so ingrained in how we think of ourselves and others and the world in general in these terms of good and bad, that it can be incredibly challenging to step outside of it and wonder, what if those are not two different things? What if self-care and work in the world are not mutually exclusive? What if they're both present and they're kind of like missing each other's gaze? And then we have this Five of Pentacles. So Pentacles are about earth and reality, material world, stuff you can touch and feel, body and home and money. And fives are about difficulty. So it's the difficulty of the material world happens with this sense of, with this not having enough thing. And I see these people moving towards this duality that you've created. I see this suffering and lacking and trudging, moving towards this idea that self-care and work in the world are different parts of your life that you need to balance. This is a long, hard slog for you. This is a difficult thing you're doing. In creating this idea that you're not doing enough, or that the world needs more from you than what you're giving, you are causing yourself to miss out. You're causing yourself pain and difficulty. You're causing yourself to have a weary load that you're dragging around. So right now, right action looks like suffering. Right now, right action looks like not having enough. And I want to encourage you to change that. I want to encourage you to see these two sides of your being. This hard worker who's grounded and present, and this bountiful lover of self whose just existence makes the world better. I want you to see these two parts of yourself. I want you to be strongly in connection with them. And I would love for you to stop hurting. So I like to give practical advice in these readings. And I'm digging through here looking for some practical advice that doesn't essentially amount to the way to be happy is to stop being unhappy. The way to do your work in the world is to do your work in the world. Because you are asking about balance. And I feel like the main thing I've told you thus far is that balance is something you have, that already is there, that you are simply not accessing. So how do you access this balance that exists within you? How do you recognize that you are already enough and that you are embodying right action, and there is nowhere to be that you are not currently, and there is nothing to do that you are not currently doing? How do you take that in? I would say you take that in by feeling into this lack. And these places where you do feel impoverished and diminished and unseen, those places, if you dig into them and sit with them and accept them, those can take you to a place of non-duality where balancing self-care and work in the world is simply flowing through it and knowing what to do at any given moment. I hope this helps. If you are watching this and you would like me to answer a question of yours, you can send it to arcanaignition@gmail.com. And if you're watching this and looking at these cards and you have an alternative interpretation that you would like to share with the Sexy Brick, feel free to leave it in the comments.